Call to order the meeting of the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District, January 6th. My apologies for being late. Do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Ernst,
Here.
Commissioner Engel,
Here.
Commissioner Rollins,
Here.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Here.
Commissioner Wright.
Here. Any changes to the agenda? Nope. Public requests. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address, please, for the record.
Hello. Is it on? Thank you. My name is Robert Duquette, 5351 Northwest 3rd Terrace, Boca Raton. First of all, I want to wish everybody here a healthy and happy new year. Hopefully we can all be thankful that we're not under a foot of snow like many of our family and friends are up north. And hopefully we haven't all sent too many pictures to them of our sunshine down here. But the reason I'm here tonight is talk about public safety regarding the city's attempts to put a at-grade crossing adjacent to your property at Clintmore Road. I know it's been over a year since, to my knowledge, this has been discussed by the district. And initially, the district was obviously pretty upset when I believe I was the one that brought this to your attention as opposed to the city. And with the recent accident that happened at the Brightline train in Delray Beach, which drew national attention, that's not something that we want to have happen, obviously, by our residents and near North Park. So, again, I would suggest and respectfully request that as a body, the district consider sending a letter to the FEC as well as to the Federal Railroad Administration for safety considerations, and let them know that now that North Park has been approved by the city, and unlike the sketchy comments in the city's initial comments about their request for an at-grade crossing, this is not just a vacant golf course anymore. It's now going to be a very active location, and I think that in addition to the public safety concerns of the railroad, I think putting a 4-lane highway through a park also seems to be pretty untenable, and it's certainly not in the best interest of public safety, especially if you're planning on putting a bike path through the middle of that area. So again, I think that it's important. Public safety is, I know that's not your direct impact because the city is requesting it, but is directly adjacent to your property, and it would certainly have an impact on your property and potentially your users of the North Park area. Lastly, my neighbor Harold Chaffee asked me to wish all of you a happy and healthy Thanksgiving, and I'm sorry, not Thanksgiving, but a New Year. And he pointed out that there's plans possibly in the works for a house to be built, actually not a house, an apartment complex at the northeast corner of Clintmore or Jeffrey and Northwest 2nd Avenue. And he was wanting to know if any updates that you might have on that proposal, if you've received any updates, because there was a request for meetings by local residents on that. I don't know if they request meetings with you or not as adjacent property owners, but that's something that Harold asked me to ask for you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. If you have any questions or any updates, please let me know.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Art Turple, 19155 Fairlawn Way, Boca Raton, representing Soccer Association of Boca Raton. First, I want to thank the staff about it. Second, based on the presentation today, as one of the users of the facility at Sugar Sand, will we have the ability to speak or ask some questions after the public comments? Just
Do you think the board would like some comments afterwards?
I
from the
think
public?
Art was part of the committee that met
Mhm.
with the architectural firm, so I think it'd be more than appropriate if we open the floor.
Okay, it seems everybody's open to that, so sure.
thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Yes?
How you doing? My name is Matt, 1571 Southwest 13th Drive. I just had a question, if there was any future plans or discussion on the future of the Boca National Golf Course on Northwest Second Avenue. Thank you.
If you look on our website, there's a master plan of the property. You can go up to the podium and I just wanted to give you the information that there is a master plan on the website that you can take a look at.
Because maybe I was looking at the wrong website, but the last date was like in 2020, maybe?
That's the Boca National website. There's not going to be a full golf course anymore. It's a park. So if you go to the mybocaparks.org website, there's
It'll
a
be
link
there.
to the project there.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
You can grab my card too and email me and I can send you some additional information.
Thank you. All right, closing public requests, and we'll do approval of the minutes of the previous board meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay,
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, regular business, first item, election of officer.
Commissioners, tonight you, as you do every year, the first meeting in January, you'll vote in 3 separate motions. You'll first vote for the chair, you'll vote for a vice chair, and then you'll vote for a treasurer.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Rollins for chair.
Do we need a second, et cetera, et cetera.
Madam Chair, if I can, you've, in the past and by custom and practice, nominations are much like motions. It would require a second. And you would then order or take, if there are more than one nomination, you would then take them in order of when they were offered. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'll wait for the second for Bob's nomination.
You're looking for me to second it?
No, I'm gonna do something else. I'd like to nominate Chairman Wright for re-election as chair. Nobody's popular tonight.
We need a second on, I think both those motions, right, Sam? The answer is that the receiver of the nomination can second the nomination. That's also correct. There's no legal bar to the receiver, the nominee, so to speak, from seconding their own nomination. Okay, which includes the first maker of the motion as well. Since I have some comments, I'd like to second that motion. Which one? The motion that I would be nominated as a chairperson, and I second that motion, my nomination. This position of chair is not a death sentence. It doesn't mean that, you're terminally in that position, and there is absolutely nothing that I could say negative about our current chair. Had done a wonderful job. And I would not want to accept that position with the chair thinking otherwise. Because as Erin's grown into that position, I think that the maturity that she brings to that and the way that she deals with the public and other issues before this commission has been superb. So I wouldn't want to go forward with this nomination if there was any thought otherwise, because that is the farthest thing from my mind in accepting this nomination. Because Erin, you've done a great job, and I wouldn't want to have you think otherwise in that. I mean, I would be happy to act in this capacity, but it will be a hard act to follow. I know I've served as chairperson before, but it takes a while to adjust to the seat, and I'm probably a little bit rusty, but I would enjoy the opportunity to do that if that was where the nomination came down. So that's all. Thank you.
Craig, you're up.
I'm happy with both of you. So I I was coming into this meeting expecting to keep everything the same, which I kind of like, it's worked well so far. So, I think that it's a very, that's a tough conversation. The only thing I would say is, do we have elections this year coming up? No, so it's the following year. So this is
Correct.
okay. I just want to see if I can keep everyone on the board a little bit longer. So whoever wants to stay on a little longer and it says that they will stay on a little longer for another term, I'm happy to endorse them. So,
Well, I can only speak to the current term. I don't know that, I have 2 more years remaining on my term. And after that, it's like it was last time was.
so you will run on.
It will be a game time decision, right? Depending on health and those issues, so.
Commissioner Rollins, this position is a death sentence. You'll be on it for the rest of your life.
Well, let's hope not, for both Aaron and my sake, that it's not a death sentence. It didn't have to be.
I don't mean it in a negative way. I just mean, we're here. It's like the Hotel California. We can check out, but we can never leave.
Yeah, well, typically in the past, the chairs that were rotated through were published. And typically every 2 to 3 years, they were changed out. So that's if this were Aaron's first or second year, I would have refused the nomination. So.
I'd like to not do a second for myself. I really enjoyed doing it this last year, and I think I've really grown into it. So I would like to do it for 1 more year. And I know, Bob, you've done it, I don't know how many times over the time that you've been here, and you do a great job. But I feel like I've done a good job, and I would like to do it for 1 more year. So sorry, Craig, you're in a tough position.
If you need the second, okay, fine, there's a second.
I just did it myself.
Oh, okay.
You can,
But now we're 2 and 2, so we have to take a vote, correct?
Yeah.
unless there's a third nomination.
Unless there's a third nomination for somebody else. You mean, or a third?
I think we got
for-
2 good people. to pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's your prerogative as to how many people you want to nominate. So,
Okay,
but you currently have 2 nominees with seconds, if I hear it correctly,
That's correct.
and take them in order of how they were elected or nominated, excuse me, for the purposes of decision.
okay,
So you now have the 2. You have Commissioner Rollins and yourself, and Commissioner Rollins' nomination came first, so he
Okay.
gets to be voted on first.
okay. So let's vote on Commissioner Rollins for chair.
Okay.
Roll
Roll
call?
call.
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Ernst,
So can I abstain?
Legally, no, unless you have to go to the bathroom.
Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom.
I didn't tell you that.
It's tough going first.
Yeah. No offense, Mr. Bob, I'm happy with Aaron running it, continue, but I'd be just as happy with you doing it. I just don't know on that one. I'm coming into it with keep everything the same, so I support Aaron, and so I'm gonna say no. Okay.
Commissioner Engel,
I have to reluctantly, I don't have to, but reluctantly, I'm saying no. Bob, I think you make a great chair. You have in the past. I've been on this board since 2013. And you've been the chair, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, and every time you've done a great job.
Yeah.
But I also think Aaron has done a great job. And like Craig, I feel the same way. If it's not broke, don't fix it. So.
so that's a no. Okay, Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes, but I do feel the same way that Aaron, you have done an amazing job. I think that Bob has 2 more years, and I think it would have been nice to see him in that seat, but I'd be happy with you too. So I think you've done a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Wright.
I'm gonna go with no on that one.
Okay, motion fails
Sales,
3 to 2.
correct.
Okay, so then we do a roll call for myself for chair.
Correct.
Okay, Commissioner Ernst,
I'm gonna say yes, but next year I'm gonna vote for Bob, just letting you know.
I'm not even putting up my notes. So.
Commissioner Engel,
Oh, yeah, do I have to give an answer?
You.
For Commissioner Wright, yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Can I vote again?
Yes, you're required to, sir. Sorry.
But it really doesn't matter if you count the noses in this, but I'd have to say no reluctantly. But having said that, Aaron, I welcome your leadership the next 12 months.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Well, as you put it, you're counting the noses, so I will say yes. I'd like to see, since you are, it's a done deal. So I would like to see you continue,
Thank you.
but like Craig, I'm gonna try very hard to see Bob in that seat next year. Okay?
Okay.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
motion passes 4-1.
Now we need a vice chair.
Now we need a vice.
I hope this makes up for it. I nominate Commissioner Rollins as our vice chair. I think he's an exceptional asset to this board.
I'd like to
especially 'cause-
second that.
Yes, and especially because you laugh at my jokes and there was cake.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call.
Other nominations, Madam Chair?
Any other nominations? Nope. So we'll do a roll call. on that.
Okay, Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
motion passes unanimously.
Okay, and finally for treasurer.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Ernst. He's done an exceptional job. And as he says, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Second.
Okay, any other nominations?
No.
Okay.
Roll call. Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Yes.
Commissioner Wright,
Yes.
motion passes unanimously.
And I'm sure you legally have a slate for this, this coming year.
Okay.
Under the rules.
That
Thank
was
you.
horrible, but thank you. Okay, moving on to the second item, the multi-sport rink shade cover conceptual design.
Commissioners, tonight we have members of KCI and their team to present the two concepts for the multi-sport rink cover at Sugar Sand Park. So we'll have you guys go up to the microphone. You'll need to introduce yourselves. Yes, name and address on, just for the record. Thank you. And we'll get your presentation up on the screen.
To East Broward Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I see why you gave me the microphone. Can you hear me? Good.
Now we can.
All right. Maybe I'll stop. Right from this one. All right. Well, good evening. Thank you for having us. I know this is a project you guys have been working on for some time now. So we're really excited to present these concepts to you guys and get your input on it. This is just kind of a little intro on to what we're going to be talking about today. First, I'm going to take you through kind of our design process and how we ended up where we did on these design decisions. And then I'll show you some precedents that we used, and then we'll go through the two different design options. Within that, we'll talk about material selections. Also, you'll see the site plans and a few renders of each design. And then at the end, we can kind of talk about some environmental considerations that we took into account. And then you guys, it'll be open for questions and answers. So first, we, of course, looked at the existing conditions of your park. The first items would be the existing roller rink itself, and kind of the areas that needed improvement on. And then we also, went beyond that. We wanted to look at the whole park itself to really think about the design elements, things that could influence the design as we're working through it. So these are just kind of some images that we were we were going through. And then also before we even went into looking at different precedents for this design, we did have a community outreach meeting, and I know some of the members are here today who are in the meeting. And we kind of got their feedback on things that they would like to see as improvements, some concerns that they had, and what we could do to try and implement those things into the design and, you know, give a well-rounded design option for you. So these were three precedents that we looked at, and I'll just kind of explain to you why we chose these ones. We did have a few others, but these were kind of the ones that spoke to us. The first one here at the top, what we really liked about this, it has an enclosed structure. I know when you typically see these pavilions, they have open structures, which you'll see in that second option there, where the structure is exposed. And one concern that came about was, you know, nesting of animals and stuff in the structures. Sometimes birds, iguanas, they get up there. So we really like this idea of being able to enclose the structure itself, and that kind of gets you away from that. The other item that we really liked in this is you see these translucent panels that they have around the outside. We know one concern that was brought up a lot was the water getting into the rink itself, and that creating some issues for people to be able to use it and play there. So this was something that, because your pavilion structure is going to need to be so at a height that would allow wind-driven rain into the pavilion, it was kind of an idea that we thought would be nice to incorporate into the design as well. And it was incorporated very successfully in this project. The second one was another sportsplex that was actually brought, you had told us about it during our meeting, and we liked it. It has the idea with the windscreens in it, where you see that around the outside. That's another way that we can look at addressing the wind-driven rain. Also, just kind of looking at the surface and how the structure of it was designed. So we looked at that one, and then this bottom one, this was another one we kind of liked the different type of framing that you'd see here. Of course, this leaves it open. It's different than the first one, but there's other items that we liked about it as well. Kind of that facade that you see over the top, the columns, they're a little bit more designed, and also this idea of incorporating the multicolor lighting. I know it's a smaller element, but it's such an easy thing to do with these projects, because the way that LED lighting is these days, you can really get creative with it. So that was just a very inspiring image for us as well. And then some other things that were kind of just items that needed to be addressed, you know, providing fans in there to get some air movement within the pavilion. Looking at adding some bicycle racks to that area, you know, there wasn't any there. So we're looking at adding some for those who do ride their bikes there. Of course, upgrading the dasher boards, that was one of the main items. You have existing benches out there under your entry pavilion. What we were looking at is actually putting benches back, but actually a wider bench, so that it gives more opportunity for people to sit. So you can sit on either side. And I think that would be really helpful, especially for people who are coming there. You know, if you're putting on your equipment and you need to sit down, it gives you more ample opportunity. I know they were saying sometimes that the people will go off to the side to be able to, when they have games there. So this gives you a better use of that front entry pavilion. Again, the basketball hoops, right now you have those ones that come out of the ground, but we're looking at doing ones that drop down from the structure itself. And then speaking with the users, you know, one thing is we can also, they come in multiple options. So you can do electronic, but we know electronic after time, it becomes a maintenance issue. So they actually have they're adjustable hoops and they're manual cranks. So that we looked at specs for that. And then adding in some more water fountains. You have one existing, but we were thinking on the other side of the pavilion where you have the bleachers at. And then, of course, finishes was another thing. Throughout the park, you have these existing pavers. So we're looking at reincorporating that in, and I'll explain that a little bit more as I go through the site plans. The lighting, again, was another element. For the roof structure, or for the finish of the roof, one of the options does have a metal standing seam roof that's similar to the roofs that you have out there. So it would be something that will tie back in with that existing architecture. And of course, the two different options that we had said for that rain protection and also sun protection are these polycarbonate panels or the windscreens. So as I go through these options, just keep in mind, we're presenting you different things, but there's things that can be incorporated in both designs. There's elements that could be used. So if there's something you like in one design that you'd like to see in another, that's possible. It's just, we're trying to give you more ideas at one time. Okay, so for this first design we have here, the one thing I'd like to point out, so the structure itself, you'll see kind of the outline here. What we're proposing is that the structure will extend beyond the rink. So you'll actually have a 5 or 8 foot wraparound around the edge so that people can actually stand there, watch the people play, and then they'll still be covered from the outside elements. Within the design, we're also looking at doing a new, oops, hold on, so a new entry here. Right now you have that fabric awning, and then same in the back, we're looking at doing a new pavilion or another structure. It'll mimic the structure of the main pavilion, but it will give you 2 covered areas, one for the observers and then one for the users as they come in. And then something else I'd like to note while we're just looking at the site plan here, I keep pressing the wrong button. So you'll see the way that we've designed the structure, you see this is one of the columns and this is another column, and they're kind of the width of the basketball courts. And what we're doing is we're keeping it so that this pavilion could actually either get larger or smaller depending on how many courts you're trying to put underneath it. So if you wanted to do a smaller version of it, both designs allow that opportunity, but just something to keep in mind while you're looking at this as well. So here's the first render. This is a more contemporary render or design that we came up with. The approach with this, we did take it, we kind of made this year like a focal point pavilion. So it doesn't exactly relate, it doesn't have the same exact architecture style as the rest of the buildings, but that was the idea. The intent was to not mimic everything that's out there. And so with this design, what we're looking at is, I keep pressing the wrong one. So here is that kind of enclosed structure that we're talking about. That's a metal clad in a sandstone color. And then we did these designed architectural columns that were inspired by trees, so they're branch-like, that then host up the pavilion. And the idea is trying to get that lower portion to blend a little bit more, and then mimicking or giving you that light sandstone color for the metals. In this design option, we also incorporate the polycarbonate panels that I previously was talking about. And then also you can see here the entry pavilion that kind of mimics the structure, but it still is a separate thing. So let me go to the next slide. We also wanted to present a second option in colors, if just so you could see as we were working with the colors in the design. This was one color we rendered out, and we kind of liked how elegant and sleek that looked. So we just also wanted to present that design to you guys for your feedback. So this is the main entry portion. Again, right now we just have the word Sportsplex across. That name can be up to you guys, however you guys would like to name the pavilion itself. You'll see here also the column designs. They do differentiate from the main structure, and that's just so that it doesn't take away from that design of the main structure. And then getting closer into that entry pavilion, like I had mentioned before, we're looking at these larger benches in there. These ones actually have also a back support as well. So it's not just an open bench. You have a place that you can sit and lean against it. If maybe if it's a parent with their kids that are there and they don't want just to put on equipment, they're actually there to play with their children. So that was one of the concept for the benches. Also, we're looking at incorporating some type of locker of varying sizes there so that while they're using the Sportsplex, they have a place to store their equipment or bags, or maybe a mom needs to store her bags. And so there's a lockable area for them. Now moving on to the interior of the pavilion, what we're what we've designed here, so we did add in some large fans. What we've designed it as is you'd have one large fan over each court, so there's 3 large fans. They span 30 feet wide, so the court is 100 feet wide. So that gives you enough space to really get the air moving underneath the pavilion. We're also looking at, again, these basketball hoops, the retractable hoops that are manually operated. They'll be ceiling mounted. And then here you'll see in the middle, these are court dividers. And so that was another thing that we were talking about, is how to implement these court dividers and not just have something that you have to pull and swing across the court and then they're laying out when they're not being used kind of off to the side. So what we're proposing here, it's actually a retractable netting. So it will retract up into the ceiling and you can crank that up as well. And here again, just another view. Here, what we're designing, we've also added kind of that wood ceiling system, similar to like what you see throughout the park there, how you have that wood underneath your structures. So we're bringing that back into the design. And then this, we also just incorporated kind of standard lighting, and that's what you're seeing through here. Still LED, but more of a standardized than what you'll see later on in the presentation. And here's a view of the back area, looking towards that bleacher area that you have back here. Again, and for this pavilion too, something to think about is we talked back and forth about this. There's 2 different options. We could either look at just covering the bleachers themselves, or you have a whole pad back there and looking at actually covering the whole pad. And that way that gives you kind of an open area that you could store stuff under if you want, and then it's already covered. So that was an idea as well. This one only shows it covering the bleachers, but just something else to think about for this area. And then just a nighttime view. Within this design, what we incorporated too in these panels, you'll see how they're kind of lit here. It's LED lighting that you can put within the panel lines, and same within the column. Oops. Same within the columns here at the front entry pavilions. So then it kind of gives enhances the architecture of the pavilion at nighttime. So then going into the materials, as I mentioned, the polycarbonate panels that are here, they're actually offset from the structure itself. So they're offset about 2 feet. And that will also allow for air to escape, hot air to escape from the pavilion, and give you kind of the circulation of air within it. And so it doesn't completely block it off. But the nice part about these is they give you the shading from the sun, but they also still let daylighting in. So they have a good U value and solar heat gain coefficient. So we thought that would be a really nice option in addition to this space. As for the pavilion itself, these are metal panels, and then the columns, they're bronze columns, but they're design columns. And then again, just what I had mentioned before, as I was going through the materials, these are the things that we're adding in. These are kind of like the base items that we're looking at adding in both designs. Okay, and so now for the second option, again, we're still doing the pavilion. It will cover the new pathway that we're adding in all around the pavilion. You do get it. We have incorporated the front entry and also the rear bleacher area. And so this is kind of the more traditional design that relates back to the architecture of the park with the standing seam metal roofs, the wood columns. Well, they're clad columns in wood. And then you get the wood underneath for the ceiling as well. And just another view. So in this design, what we incorporated was the windscreens instead of the polycarbonate panels. The windscreens, they're adjustable, so they can move up and down, manual as well. So that's another thought. So if you don't want them fully deployed, you can then retract them. Another front rendering of that entry pavilion. In this design, we added more lockers. That's something that could be talked about as well. How many lockers you'd want out there, that we were able to fit it on both sides. So we wanted to present that option to you. Again, here we have the columns clad in wood. These are actually reveals that will have that can have lights in them, LED lighting, and then just some entry lighting as well. On the interior here, we did something different with the lighting. So this is kind of more of this raceway looking design. We thought it would be fun to incorporate, being it is a roller rink as well. So it kind of gives you that dynamic feeling with underneath it. And then it lines up with the tongue and groove wood ceilings that we have. Again, this does have the netting, the retractable netting that we've incorporated here for the court dividers. This is a render of the backside of the pavilion. And then here, this was one thing, because as we were working on it and incorporating the structure for this, we were looking at other ways to enclose this portion of the pavilion, just because, again, for nesting purposes, not to have critters up there. So what we've designed, it's a vertical louvered system. So it will still allow air movement, but it won't allow for nesting up there. Another render of the back entry area. Also in this, we're looking at different options for what we could do for pavers. So if we went different from the brick that you guys have out there and did something a little different for this, that was the intent of that. And again, a nighttime one, just to see what we're proposing for the lighting. We're looking at, again, just these reveals in the columns that will lightly glow to enhance the columns and the architecture of it. As I mentioned, for the materials of this one, we have the windscreen, the retractable windscreen, the standing seam metal roof that would align with the standing seam roof that you have out there. And I know there's a building you're recently re-roofing, I think the one right next to it. And so we'll use the specs of that to match. And then the wood cladding, which would be within on the columns as well as in the roof or the ceiling as well. Again, just highlighting those elements that we're going to incorporate in both designs. So just some environmental considerations that we'd also like to point out. So for one, just this little diagram that we have here. With the polycarbonate panels, the idea is those fans, they will give you enough air movement within there to keep the air circulating, but also kind of the stacking effect of how hot air rises, cool air falls. The opening up of the panels from the ceiling there, it'll allow that circulation of air and the air to still escape from it. So just thinking about that concept. Beyond that, though, we're also looking at sustainable material choices, recycled materials, recycled woods that could be locally sourced, and also speccing products that are low VOCs, non-toxic, things like that. Energy efficiency is another thing, again, with the air movement, the cooling of the space, but also thinking about the lighting, moving to LED, less power requirement, using more efficient lighting systems, and also using it on timers, making sure it's set up with a kind of energy management system. And then that way you're only using the lighting as needed. I kind of spoke about the ventilation, but also thinking about the different shade structures. So those polycarbonate panels, again, like I said, they do have a really good U value, and they still allow daylighting within the space, so you won't have really dark space. So that's another one to think of. And then reflective materials for the roof structure itself on top, like for the first option, if we used a white TPO roofing, that's very reflective. And then again, just eco-friendly landscaping, Specking some native plants to surround the structure, and then incorporating permeable surfaces so we don't just have all these solid surfaces we're building around the structure that will hold water. And I think with that, that was my presentation. Sorry. So I will open it up for questions.
Hey, thank you for the presentation. I just had a quick question on the polycarbonate.
Mhm.
Does that give, I know the low U value, but is there less airflow because of that? Because it's blocked off? And I know there's openings towards the top, but it seems like, especially for playing futsal in August,
Mhm.
it seems like it would reduce the airflow. And I know you have the big ass fans.
The name of them.
I know.
Yeah.
Record-
It's really hard to
The
say.
name for the record, yes.
But I'm a little worried. I know those are very expensive when they
Mhm.
get broken. And the kids playing futsal
Mhm.
won't care kicking the ball up in the air, really, right? Or if it gets, for some reason, if it gets damaged or whatever, hockey's not a problem, basketball's probably not a problem. The only sport I would worry about would be futsal in
Mhm.
terms of the fans being damaged, in terms of
The fans or the panels?
the fans. I'm not worried about the panels. I'm
Oh.
sure they're strong enough for the kids.
Okay.
But in terms of the fans, in terms of the height or whatever,
Mhm.
if futsals are not just like light balls, they're like heavier,
Mhm.
solid, soccer balls. And those fans are very expensive to fix. So
Yes.
those are kind of my
Your
concerns, just
Mhm.
looking at the initial, and then the windscreens, do those block out rain or just wind?
So they don't fully block it out, but they do a really well job at it. So it's not, it's not a solid panel. There still is holes in it, but
Right.
so there's the potential of water still getting through it.
Mhm.
But it does a good job at it.
And then what about the polycarbonate panels in terms of like the heat being enclosed in the rink in August when they're playing at like, 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yeah, so the way that it was designed, and like I know I was talking about the heat, movement of the air. They are also offset, so it's not that they're completely enclosing the structure. They're offset from the ground. They're high enough that they're going to be. I think we had them designed around 12 to 15 feet high, so you'll still be able to get a wind through the pavilion.
So the panels go, but is that the only enclosure or is there also a rink enclosure that you
Well, you
can't
have the
see
rink
through?
enclosure, but it's offset from it. So you'll have, if you had your panels and then 5 feet in, you're gonna have then
The
the
rink
rink
enclosure.
enclosure. Mhm.
Okay, gotcha.
So there is like a space for air to move through past the panels.
Okay, I'm still worried about the heat in August with the panels up.
Mhm.
I don't know. Do you have any
Well-
experience with that, Daniel, in terms of a rink that has that? Oh. Okay, well, can we open it to public comment in terms of discussion, just as this question? Is that okay? Okay,
Name
My address first?
name and address, yeah.
All right. Daniel Cavalcanti. My address is 23427 Boca Trace Drive, Boca Raton, Florida, 33433. So the first concern that you mentioned about the futsal balls, right? So the futsal ball is a heavier ball, but it's a low bounce ball. So it's very rarely that it goes up that high unless somebody's doing it on purpose. I think the main concern I would have, the likelihood of somebody damaging the fan if it's somebody, let's say another group that goes in there, for example, and I have been there before where, for example, adults go in there and they play pickup soccer inside the hockey rink with a regular soccer ball. And then I think the greatest danger would come from those people getting the ball and kicking it high up because they have, there's no skin in the game for them if anything gets damaged. They just pick up and go and they go play somewhere else. So I think my main concern would be with that kind of situation if there's no supervision happening within the park. I'm highly confident that with kids under supervision and practicing, that ball is not going to go up there. Most of them are not even going to be able to kick it that high, like I said, unless they're unsupervised and they literally grab a ball and punt it into the air. So, and in regards to the heat, no, because I've never been in an outdoor rink that has like the plexiglass. I've been in indoor, in futsal facilities, indoor that has it. But inside I wouldn't be able to, I don't have any experience regarding that. I do know that there is a facility in Texas, which is one of the ones that she actually provided in the presentation. It's called City Futsal. It's in Dallas, and they do use the screens. And I guess from what I've spoken to them in the past, I know the owner quite well. He told me that it doesn't prevent 100%, but if it's light rain, it does keep some of it out. But obviously, if you're having a big storm, it's not going to keep that water from coming in, but it does help. Yeah.
Okay.
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 Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes. Okay, Steve, go ahead.
First, thank you very much. You thought about a lot of the possibilities and probabilities that are involved in a structure like this. With regard to the bleachers, I would think two things come to mind. First, if we have them in the center and there are games going on either side, say basketball, those bleachers are basically good for the center, but there's really no place for people that want to watch. There's no bleachers for people that want to watch games on either end. So my thinking would be, I don't know if this is feasible, having a mobile bleacher that you could literally wheel to wherever the games are going on, or having a bleacher that extends the length of the rink. Is that a possibility? Which is the more feasible possibility?
They're both feasible, to be honest. I think that's more of a decision that you would have to make as a board of how you would like to go about it. I would say the problem with, I would think about rolling the bleachers out is you have to get somebody to do that.
Yeah.
So it's coordinating, having, the personnel to have that.
Steve,
available.
just as information, I don't know if you've been out there lately, though. If you sit in the middle like that, you
Yeah.
can see both ends of the rink. It's not,
It's not, I
big
understand
enough.
it's not a
you
big
can
rank,
see from both
but there's,
one end to the other.
speaking as a spectator, rather than have to turn my head to watch the game and turn my body with, and there's no back, it's a bleacher seat. It'd be more comfortable to be able to look straight ahead. And if we can do that, if that's doable, then I would rather do that than just have one set of bleachers in the center and having to cover all three courts. But that's, that's my opinion. The other thing, I think I prefer the windscreen rather than the polycarbonate, if only because it allows more air to come through. The fans might be an issue. I think to air condition it would be out of the question. Also, I like the idea of reflective roof because it can get, you get a dark color, it absorbs the heat, and then
Yeah, absolutely.
it becomes a problem. But I like both designs. I'd be happy with either one.
Chris, that was pretty good. Thank you very much. I thought it was great. I like that. I think it accomplishes a lot of the things. But since I was unanimously elected treasurer.
Yeah.
I'm up for the cause. Okay, can you give me a flavor and a feel for the two, the modern versus, good old traditional sugar sand green?
Yeah.
Craig, I can weigh in on that because we've done some preliminary numbers. Now keep in mind, these are today's construction costs. These are preliminary numbers. We budgeted $2.5 million for this project. The first one that you saw, with construction management all in, we see it around $3.5 million. But if we don't start this till, let's say, September, by the time it's designed, bid, and permitted, I would say that we would need to budget another $1.5 million next year for the project to make it $4 million. And then the other one maybe would be 500,000 less by the end. That's just ballpark. These are just very preliminary. And again, it depends on what features you choose. All those different things play a factor in it.
Okay, so and then the other feature I guess I want to poke at a little bit is the false ceiling. I mean, very nice, but I'm a big fan of simplicity, and the goal was our friends who are using it to be covered, just cover it and prevent rain. It's a little discouraging to have the critters up there, but you know, they have to learn to get along in the park. Everyone does. And regardless, they're gonna get in there anyway. When you create a false ceiling, you know, then what are you gonna do when it's in there? They're gonna get in there one way or another. This is a park and I live nearby and the raccoons get into all the houses nearby and so do the possums and everything else.
Yeah,
So I kind of gave up on them, you know, just got,
friendly neighbors.
yeah, I mean, if it's simpler to just have a metal structure with good lighting and I think Costco, they have those clear panels on it, but I also kind of favor that green.
Mhm.
I'm not a fan of it, but let's make it uniform.
Mhm.
It's really different. I do appreciate the design, but any thoughts on that or?
Well, the structure could be exposed, you know, when we had closed it, that was kind of just our thought process going
into it?
going forward with that. It doesn't change the structure itself, so it's still gonna be the same structure within it. It's just one will be exposed and one's enclosed.
Okay, but it's less cost if you don't have to do all that.
The ceiling part. Yeah, yeah, because you're not buying all that material for the ceiling.
Right, so,
But the structure itself is where the bulk of your cost is, and so.
okay. And then on the fascia of the green one,
Mhm.
is there a way to make it, it's kind of, you know, straight up and down on the edges? Is it a way to make it more uniform with the existing buildings, the roof lines, to make it look similar? Cause I saw it as more, it's green, but you know, the fascia on it it's more of a 45-degree angle. I don't know. It's a
You're
little
talking
different.
about the green,
Yeah,
the second option?
the second option. I just wanna, my only thing would be if it was me and I was picking things, I would say, 1, go with your mesh on the outside. 2, go with the green, typical, that one, the slope of that is very straight up and down, 90-degree angles. I'm just saying the roof line that is out there is not like that. Maybe it just looks like that. It's got a unique angle to it. I just want to kind of mirror it a little
So
bit.
the larger pavilion structure does try and mimic the angled roofs that you have. Can I control it now? Okay. I know it's hard to see from here, but we're actually we broke it up into 3 segments, and this kind of has like that angle to mimic is that what you're talking about?
Well, yes and no.
You're talking about
The
this
edge.
front
Yeah, actual
pavilion.
Flats, yeah, the very flat where superplex is. I'm just saying that's just a flat
Uh-huh.
surface. None of the building is out there like that.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, let's try to make it look like the other buildings.
Okay.
That's all.
What are the other buildings?
They're
have?
just flat. They don't have
They
that
don't have an edge.
edge, like where the.
But
sports-
isn't that more helpful for rain? Having a bigger,
I don't know. It's a design thing. We can let them.
Well, yeah,
think about it.
it's just you'll have it, the metal, the edge of the metal will be what you're gonna see at the edge, where what we were trying to do is just wrap it, so then
Right.
it looks like a whole, a piece instead of just ending.
how many feet does it come out from the rink? Like how many feet does it come out over the rink in terms of protection from the rain?
So it's about 8 feet on each side,
Okay.
on all directions, yeah.
I don't know. That's something to
But-
think about.
yeah, no,
I'm just trying to make it blend
Okay.
into what's already there as much as it already is.
But that was built so long ago too. I mean, we got, and
It's-
it's indoors.
We could look at options, but so going back on the whole thing is, to me, I would probably, I like the racetrack look. That's nice, but I'm still kind of concerned about general maintenance of it. Is it simpler, better to make it? We're already putting one up out at Pat's Reef. Should we kind of follow a similar logic of a cover or not? But it's a beautiful design. I will give you
Thank you.
that. I think it's something we have to think about.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah, well, I have the preference for option 1. It looks more like Boca, if you want my honest opinion.
True.
And the panels, I think if they could be replaced by the screening, I think I'd be more comfortable with that on
Yeah.
that feature, just because of air circulation. And, you know, if it's blowing real hard, we're gonna get water inside there, no matter what
It's
you do.
Florida, yeah.
And so if it's that hard, I doubt that the Boca parents are gonna get their kids out anyway in that kind of a weather.
Mhm.
I mean, it'd be nice if we're gonna, if we have concern like that, then play in the gym that we have there, you know, if you can get space inside there. But now the ceiling in option one, is that what we're talking about, a covered ceiling?
Yeah, they both actually do
okay.
have a coverage
And
structure.
with
Yeah.
with those LED lights in option one and then the fluorescent lights in option two?
No, they're both LED.
both-
They're just, one's more of a standard light fixture. This is more of, you know, a designed pattern within the ceiling.
I'm like Craig, unless there's some reason to cover the ceiling to limit the heat coming into the facility, I just assume not have that there, you know, and we'll send Coach Turple out there with his nets to get the birds and the animals out of there. But yeah, I like the fact also that you have an extension of the roof over about 5 to 8 feet, you said, because I think that also adds some further protection to wind and the elements. And also gives somebody maybe a shaded place to stay to watch it from the sides if they don't want to sit in the bleachers. I'd be the one walking the side.
And that was some feedback we got too, that parents do like to stand on the sides. And so that was where that idea came
Yeah.
from. So.
No, I know that the economics of it are better with option two, but you know, I want something that's going to fit in with Boca. And I think it's a classier look that we have there, and not just going to affect the play and anything there, but I think that for the cost, if I were spending my money, I would go for the better look, quite honestly. But you know, that's just one opinion. And the ceiling heights are about the same on each one of these.
Yes.
Okay. I think you did a wonderful job with both options there. I mean, if you hadn't shown us option one, we probably would have been 100% behind option two as
Yeah,
number one. So, but yeah. So, but that's something we'll have to decide on once we maybe when if we were to request you know, a bid on option one and option two, would you have to do a design on both of those options in order to get a bid on that, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In today's market, I will say it's really hard to just get somebody to give you a ballpark number on it. And then for a contractor to give us real good numbers for you to look at them, we would have to get it pretty far along in the
I haven't
CDs.
had too many ballpark estimates that were very close, so.
No.
Then we'll have to, you know, take that under advisement when we're talking about it, I guess, as
Yeah.
what we really want to do. But Brian has probably, I'm trusting her projection as far as, you know, an idea as to what we're looking at. If there's only $500,000 difference in the two designs, I would go with option one. If there were $1 million.
Well, you might save that if you change out the polycarbonate panels for for the windscreens. So that's where I know she had mentioned the different things that you guys decide to put in could change the numbers as well. So
Okay.
something
Thank
to
you
think
very
about.
much. I'm very,
Yeah.
very impressed and pleased with both options that you're showing us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Susie?
Thank you. You impressive, very impressive. But I do have some questions. What are the dimensions basically going to be the same for the surface?
Yes.
Are you
So
going
for the
to-
roller rink, you're asking,
Yeah.
right?
Are you
Yes.
going to dig up the existing roller rink?
No.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah, in this project, we have it, so that's staying, what's changing is just the dasher boards are gonna be replaced.
okay. As far as being tied down for hurricanes, what provisions do you make for that?
So everything will have to be designed to meet the wind codes for today. So every product that we've looked and spec'd at this point has an NOA that does meet the wind codes. So you're talking about for the equipment, the windscreens, right? Yeah, so everything will meet the requirements for the wind speeds.
Well, I mean, if it was a storm was coming, you can't really protect those fans or anything. You just have to hope that they don't blow out.
Yeah, well, but again, they as I said, though, they design these, the equipment to have certain attachment requirements so that when you do have big gusts of wind, that they'll be able to withstand those gusts of wind and that you won't have damage.
Oh, yeah, please, you can't talk unless you're on the microphone. Go ahead.
When you say you are using long-lasting fasteners, what is long-lasting?
Well, not long, they're designed for wind resistance. You're talking.
No, on one of your.
Oh, it's the different types of material selections that you will choose to make sure that they're compatible with the metals. So they have a longer lasting lifespan, because what we do see on a lot of projects is over time they start to rust, and that's the big part of the structure that starts to go really quickly, and then that has to be repaired. So making sure that we're speccing the correct.
So how long before we would have to replace the fasteners?
I don't have the answer for you on that
Okay.
right now, but I
Okay,
can get you
that's fair.
that information.
It's just, when we were doing the other roof,
Mhm.
the fasteners came into play as far as what they were using and how they used it, the contractor.
Yeah,
What kind of a time frame to build this?
to construct it,
Mhm.
or including the design, or just the construction, are you thinking?
Including the design would be fair.
So I think for the design we have. I don't remember.
We had January of 2026 to be done, like through the, because if
Okay.
you guys give direction tonight on what to do, then they'll do a more thorough design to get to construction documents. We have to bid that. We would go out to bid like around August or September. We'd go out to bid sooner and probably start construction after permitting around August or September is how we had it timed out.
Let's see. The bleachers, can you make those ADA accessible?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that they
Yeah.
are, though. They currently have a ADA ramp up to them, and they have an
Okay.
ADA seating area.
Okay, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yes.
I have just another question.
Yes.
In the construction phase, obviously, the courts themselves are not going to be available to be used.
Mhm.
What kind of downtime do you think we're looking at? If there's cosmetic work, that wouldn't interfere with it, but we got major construction that's going to have to happen. How long do you think the rink would be inaccessible due to that?
We plan like 6 to 8 months that it would be down.
6 to 8 months?
Mhm.
Okay. I see some frowns in the audience, but it is what it is. You just have to find some more space inside the field house.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think Brianne's looking for some consensus tonight. Oh, yes. So do we have any other comments from the commission at this point?
I would like to speed it along. So if that means supporting the modern look, that's good. But I'd like to really hear from the audience to see what they think. They're the ones who's going to use it.
Okay, so we'll open it back up to public comment. Please again, if you've already stated your name, you don't have to, correct?
That's correct.
Yes,
Art Turple, look,
you're good.
wonderful, wonderful book, architecture, form and function. I'm staying out of form. You guys, colors, looks, all that. Function, I'm in. And I think they listened to us. They've done a wonderful job of the whole purpose is, I think Craig said, is for us to have a place where we can play and have it play as much as possible. We're losing somewhere around, it's hard to believe, but 4 out of every 10 days out there now, because that surface is such that it gets a little wet, we're out. And we've had to cancel 4 out of 40% of our play out there. So the important thing to me is the covering of it. So the fact that I've heard 5 to 8 feet, I hope it is 8 feet, because anytime you know anything about it, water hits. Now, what I haven't heard and what worries me a little is this is a huge roof. And that means a large amount of water hits the roof. And that water has only one place to go, and that's down. And so it rains, it comes down, and if there's any wind, it blows in. So I don't know if there's any drainage like gutters or anything like that. If there's a gutter system attached, because you got rain out here that blows in, but if you're collecting so much rain on that roof, and if it's not collected off of the roof, we just have a big mistake we're making here, I'm telling you. So. Yeah.
Yeah. So just so everybody's, we will design it with a drainage system in it. So either option will be able to drain to an enclosed system, which will drain off into the side. So it won't be, you won't have a bunch of water shed onto.
Second, Aaron, Bob, everyone, I agree 100% with the discussion about the panel system. Except again, the purpose of this is to keep as much rain out as possible. If they have structured that panel system so there is space between, we're not enclosing. What they're talking about doing is offsetting the panels so that there is a system of air that can flow in there. Life is compromised. It might be a little bit hotter in there, but it also will be a little bit drier in there. And so I like, for the engineering people to talk about that. And are we talking about 3 degrees? Or are we talking about 23 degrees? And for 3 degrees, I would ask that you consider more of a solid, because when the wind blows and the rain comes in, are the solid's going to keep out 80% of the rain and the windscreen is going to keep out 40% of the rain? Again, if it's 5 degrees warmer in there, I think we can live with 5 degrees warmer and keep it more of the rain. No one brought it up, so I'm glad to hear it. What's so important in there is the dividing system. And I don't know why the city isn't here, because they were the ones that talk so much about it, because they have to maintain that thing. And for them right now, they're setting up a system of poles and screens, and it's take hours to set it up and take it down. This is a multi-use facility, except for the hockey, which uses the entire thing. We split the time with basketball, and some nights we have 2 courts and basketball has 1. Some nights basketball has 2, and we have 1. So for a very quick system, that's a hugely important thing. So I hope when we get into cost engineering, you understand how important that part is. But how it looks, good luck. It's all yours. But as long as we can keep the water out of there, it's just, thank you so much for what you're doing here.
Thanks, Art. I'm still concerned about the heat. I mean, if it's 105 degrees outside in August, 5 degrees makes 110 for, 8-year-olds. So it's still a concern to me, and I don't know if they can guarantee that it'll be cool enough in there in August or July or September. So it's still a worry, and I wouldn't want to have to block off from 11 o'clock until 4 o'clock until it's safe for them to play because of the heat inside the facility.
I agree, sir. I don't know if they have some engineering statistics they can work.
Go ahead.
Is there a facility that you would recommend we look at and go visit to see how the airflow is?
We're still working with the manufacturer, getting more information on it. So as we vet that a little bit further, I could get you more information on it. I understand the concern, and we very much understand, we don't want to make a hot box for the pavilion. So we can get you some more information on it, and then you can.
I just asked ChatGPT real quick, and it says that it's a 5 to 15 degree increase in heat with the polycarbonate versus the mesh. This is just a brief question I asked real quick of it. So maybe it's 5 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So we're still in public comment. So did anybody else? So we need to go to the podium, to the microphone. Please state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes.
You can use a stand.
Yeah, you can use the standing one.
That way you still have it to answer questions.
Got it.
Hey, hello, I'm Fred Blemiger. I'm 21711 Cromwell Circle here in Boca Raton, right across the water here. Yeah, we play roller hockey there regularly. One of the issues is, and it probably will be even more of an issue if we put a roof on the facility, is the tiles that are down there, they don't dry unless the sun hits it. So is there some way, I guess the problem is there some kind of tile that you can put down that will dry without the sun hitting the tile? Or, well, I'm more familiar with just concrete with a roof, because at least you can see the wet places where where you would tend to slide. If it's wet, you can avoid that area. Because right now, like I said, if it doesn't, if the sun is not out, it's wet, and like you can see, like in the shaded areas where the trees are, it doesn't dry until the sun hits it completely. And not just from the rain, but in the mornings. In the mornings, when the morning dew is out, we can't really start till like 9:30, sometimes 10 o'clock, because there's wet patches all around just from the morning dew in the morning. So it's not just from the rain. So if you cover it, it's gonna still stay wet. And it's not, my fear with that would be is it won't dry at all. It'll be wet like most of the time because of the surface that it has. So maybe like a concrete surface, or maybe there's some other kind of tiles that maybe would dry quicker. I'm not sure exactly where to go with that. Some of the guys recommended some tiles, but I think they're indoor tiles. I don't know if I'm not exactly too familiar with construction of roller hockey rinks. I might play more than I do know about the rinks themselves, but and we're struggling with this surface with the slipperiness. It actually, it turns from, to give you an idea, it's like it's solid and you can't see. And it's like all of a sudden, it's like you're roller skating on ice. You completely like it's like just driving on like black ice up north, like losing control of your car. It's crazy, so you can't see it, and it doesn't dry unless the sun hits it. And so it's kind of really limiting our play, like totally. And I think if you put a roof on, it's gonna probably make it worse. So maybe we should reconsider what surface is down there once you do put a roof on it, if that's what you're planning with. I think I missed that. I think that was the plan. You're gonna cover it with a roof. I missed that part, yeah. Is that the plan? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That was
Thank
my
you.
input there.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Does anybody else have any public comment? Anybody else? Go ahead.
I'm just, do I have to say my name and address again one more time? Okay, so
Just your
Daniel
name, self.
Cavalcanti.
Just your name, just
All
your
right,
name.
Daniel Cavalcanti, thank you. I do have to say that on that, I know the discussion today is not necessarily about the flooring, and I was one of the ones that requested the current surface because the one that was on there previously was not safe for the kids to play, because it was a concrete, but it was a very rough, coarse concrete, because I think it was made for anti-slip. So it had like a little bit of gravelly feel to it, which would have been great for sports like hockey. I do think that once it's covered, there is a place where we can have a discussion on what the alternative can be, because we go through the same issues that the hockey people go through as well. Once it rains, there are certain places where it doesn't get sunlight, and that builds up, and then it gets extremely slippery in there as well. So whatever pains they are feeling, we feel those pains too. And I do think that once it's covered, that surface that we currently have was the immediate alternative that we found for players to participate and play futsal in a safer environment. But I do think, because it's a material that's made for outdoor, that can withstand the different extreme weathers that we have in Florida. But I do think that once it's covered, yes, we can certainly analyze, come up with maybe see what different options we can have to make all parties involved, satisfied with what we have out there.
I was gonna say, maybe the big ass fans will help it.
True,
I just like saying the word.
true. It's because when
It'll dry quicker.
a lot of the futsal facilities, they either have like the indoor tiles that he was referring to, but these are covered facilities or indoor facilities. And for outdoor, it would have been much worse if we had that right now when it rained, then it would have never evaporated at any point. And also, I know that some of the facilities, they have like this concrete, but it's like very polished. I don't know how they do it, but it's almost like a warehouse flooring, when it's like so smooth that you can even
Like a
slide on
sealed
there and you don't get hurt. Like if you go to like some campuses like Broward College, they have that same thing, but it's covered. So I don't know if that would be ideal for something that was open, like the facility that we have right now. But I think once it's covered, it's something that we can definitely consider. I think it would be a good idea to make everybody satisfied, since we're considering making the investment in the first place. Thank you again.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go to the podium, please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Dan Martino, 530 Labor Circle, Delray Beach. Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you wanted to look at some of the rinks of what they do, there's one in Stewart that's a closed roller hockey rink up there. I've played tournaments up there. The surface is like a very it's a very kind of like shiny pavement, actually. It's really, really nice, actually. Great for playing roller hockey, and it dries really quickly. Also, I play a lot in, Fort Lauderdale at Holiday Park. They don't have a covered roller hockey rink, but again, the surface is really nice that's over there. And they just built a double ice hockey rink over there too, if you wanted to look inside there just to see what they're doing over there. But yeah, they have those two rinks are really nice, actually. The one in Stewart is really nice, and they do have the big fans up at the top. It's a wood roof. So we play roller hockey like tournaments up there a lot. So it's just one place to go take a look if you were curious about looking at. And we played up there in August, and they don't have any panels that come down on the sides or like that. It's Florida, it's hot. But it covered the sun. So compared to playing in Fort Lauderdale where there's no roof, it was helpful. So that's just my opinion. And I really like, presentation was great. It's fantastic.
Sir, is that the rink that you see when you drive up 95? You can see it off to the right. Is that the one you're
Yeah.
talking about? Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks like it's just an open, it's just a roof and it's.
It's
open
very
for-
much like the second present. It's very much like
Yeah.
the second
Right.
version, which I think too is, I love the first one, but the second one, obviously the simplicity, probably maybe a faster build too. I'm not sure if that would help, if that moves things along quicker. So that's one thing I think about too. So, okay.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nope. Okay, I don't know, I kind of need more information, I think. I don't know how you guys feel. I want to get this moving, but I don't feel like we have enough information in terms of the screens. And even in terms of the design costs and like timeframes and things like that. I don't know. How do you guys feel?
What do you need on timeframes and stuff?
I'm not uncomfortable with making a decision, that the answer on the panels was the Brian said the temperature is a lot hotter. What you said, 15 degrees hotter
Yeah,
with the panels.
5 to 15, it just
5 to
varies in
15.
it. You can get them coated with UV, so it makes it less. And it depends on the ventilation that you set up. So it will probably increase the temperature somewhat. We just don't know how much, but it varies from 5 to 15 is what my initial question was.
Yeah, and and the concern and the difference between the function with the panels versus the windscreen, where you're going to get probably more circulation, but you're going to get more, blowing rain is going to go through those a lot faster. I'm as concerned about the surface as I am. The gentleman brought that issue up. If we keep that surface down there, do we have a way to dry that out faster than just with the big ass fans?
Yeah, we can look at alternative surfaces. I mean, the surface area is not changing, so it's going to be the same size. But we can certainly add that and have them look into other surfaces to do when we construct the roof. And the same thing with I don't think we need to know tonight if we want the mesh or the polycarbonate, but a general idea of what design you like best would be helpful, just so they could start getting the roof. Because those sizes won't change. It's going to be the same size, 8 feet covering the walkways and stuff like that. If we have some, just to keep this on track and keep it on progress, because we're hitting our timeline with the work order to bring these concepts tonight, but we want to continue with getting the design developed so we can get to the construction document portion.
Aaron, what are the other concerns that you need more information on?
I was just kind of unsure whether we should go with a more modern Boca look or a simpler. I'm just indecisive on it. So can you put those up again?
Yeah, Brian.
And the $500,000, it's still a $500,000.
That can all change though too, just based on the change of the mesh between the polycarbonate, and this is all preliminary because we don't really know, construction prices today are going to be different than they are 6 months from now too.
Yeah, I'm about to change my mind on. You know, like you say, we don't know what the actual cost is gonna be. I mean, this, looks like something we might find in another community rather than Boca, but you know, if I knew the costs were the same, I would certainly, go with option one, but I think I'm more concerned about the functionality of the usability of the facility, you know, and this doesn't look like it would be as on option two, are those screen panels that I see that you have are halfway down the column? Right, look to the left side of that, right there.
Yes, that's all of it.
Oh, okay, so those would come all the way to the boards on the bottom, or?
Yeah,
are they-
it would stop.
Okay, so,
Plexiglass to the boards. Remember, the board, then the plexiglass.
well, that'd be an option,
No, that's mesh.
option one where the plexiglass, I mean, we could put plexiglass panels in this
Yes,
feature, could we not?
If you wanted to do the plexiglass, we could put it here, and if you wanted to do the windscreen on the other option, you could do it on the other option. That's one of the items that's interchangeable.
Okay, and across the end of the apex there of the roof, is that open or is that something that?
It would be open. Air still, the vertical. So it would close that space.
Okay, so that's probably one area that, now that's, this faces north and south of most of the. I don't know, with that end being open there, you probably get more water blowing in through there than you would with the other structure which kind of was louvered over the option number one. Looks like you got better protection from the water intrusion at the roof than you do. Is this hanging over the sidewalk about the same dimension?
Yeah.
Yeah, it still looks to me like it's more open there at the top. You probably get better ventilation, but you also get better moisture coming through there too, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's.
Okay,
Well, both overhangs on both are 8 feet. Right, so they're
Yes,
exactly
that's
the same.
correct.
in option one, you don't have that open there
He's,
to roof.
yeah,
do
he's
you?
talking about this.
Okay,
portion
that's
here.
option two. So option one would be more enclosed than that because you look like you had. Yeah, looks like that roof comes down a little bit further.
Mhm.
If you had the panels there and the roof looks like you got,
It's like an inverted roof, right? There,
Yeah.
almost.
looks like you
Sort
have
of.
more wind.
Yeah, you
More
can call it
water
that if you want.
protection with
Like a
that
trapezoid,
design.
angular. But it extends a little bit
Is that a
further
flat roof?
because, yes, that's
just-
actually space framing too for the structure inside, how it's designed.
So in other words, that's. The way that it looks like it's kind of higher on one side than on the other side, but you're saying the roof is flat.
So the roof itself is flat, the
Mhm.
edge of the roof tapers.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
So the edge of the roof, does that goes out beyond the 8 feet? Correct.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
so you could make any of these a little bit, instead of 8 feet, you make them 10 feet.
We could, yes.
So-
There's not a limit on that really. You have the flexibility to make that overhang wider if you want to.
So when you say it's a flat roof, it's gonna have to have a pretty steep angle to get the water to run off one way or the other.
No, not necessarily,
Just like
just
that.
1/4 inch per foot required for the slope. And
The length of the building is 100
100, which way? Well, the court is 100 by 200, and then you
Yeah.
add on the 16 feet.
Right, so it's, so the length of the building's 216 feet
Mhm.
and 1/4 inch. So you're talking about a 4-foot incline roughly.
But you could also split it down the middle. You don't have to do it right from one edge to the other. You can, yeah,
Right.
you can
Right.
do half of the length.
I'd like to see things, move forward. I'm partial to, I like them both, but I'm more partial to this design option as opposed to the other. For one of the reasons that Bob brought up, there's that space, between the roof
Mhm.
and, I don't know, the top of the court, so to speak.
Mhm.
And to me, that's going to allow, and facing north-south, you get a storm that comes in from the south or from the north,
Mhm.
as a lot of them do.
Yeah, right.
Those courts are going to be wet. As far as the windscreen as opposed to the plexiglass, I'm partial to the windscreen. It's going to be, there's going to be a compromise there.
Mhm.
Do you want it to be hotter or drier? I think we can figure out ways to dry off
Mhm.
the surface, but when it gets hot, it gets hot.
Mhm.
And there's no way, to me, there's no way around that. So, in the interest of moving things forward, I'd go with option one.
And we could do the option with the panels versus the windscreen to see what the cost differentials. would be.
Absolutely.
So
Yes. We can do alternates on the design as
I
well.
second Steve's motion.
Thanks. No cake, I'm sorry.
Is there a way to mix and match as far as the prevailing winds and the direction that the storms usually come from?
Mhm.
To put, the polycarbonate on that side and then the windscreens? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. We could definitely look at that. There's no reason why you couldn't. It's not, if you choose one, you have to use it on all four sides. So we could do, windscreens on one side and the polycarbonate panels on the other. I think from an aesthetic though, it might look nicer if you have them all matching. So that's just something to keep in mind.
I just want to keep everybody comfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I completely understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think solving the heat issue would be, major, but that's going to allow more playing time rather than the windscreens, but also will make it more uncomfortable in August.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in the afternoon. So-
Right.
And then, of course, getting back to the flooring, I think that's something we need to investigate too. Something that if we keep that floor, we had to find a way to keep it dry or to dry it. And if we want to take that out, we would need to look at an option going in too,
Mhm.
so that we could know what that price would be and what alternatives there might be to drying that. It would seem to me that if you had drying it out now, has it been tried to use blowers to dry the court? Yeah. Okay, I hear two options here.
This is, and Melissa, I don't know if you want to speak. This is a complicated issue. Part of the problem was because the old dasher boards, the drainage wasn't working correctly. And so with the new dasher boards in installing the drainage, it'll come out. The city actually has made a proposal, I think every half year or quarterly, to pull up the floor and to clean it, which will allow. So part of the problem is the existing structure. And once we do a new structure, we'll find that I think 90% of this water situation. But yes, we're prepared as Sabre to buy some blowers and we will blow the court when we're out there. But we have as much of an issue with this slippery situation, but the city has been working on it diligently. And I think it's definitely going to be much better once new dasher boards are put in and some drainage allows any water that gets in there. But we're going to stop 95% of the amount of water that's going in there right now. So,
Well, you still have the issue in the morning too with the dew.
Dew, yes.
Keeping it wet, then if it doesn't dry out to 10 o'clock and you have 9 o'clock that you want to be playing, then that's an issue that needs to be done with. Are the dasher boards, those would only be put in after the structure has been built? Is that, or do you have to put those in right? Are we replacing those dasher boards
No.
right now?
We weren't planning on it, I don't believe, as part of the project. They are.
They need to be replaced.
No, those are not
The
dashboards.
dasher boards around.
The dashboards
Yeah.
around need to be replaced. We've been waiting to do it for this project.
Yes.
Also, real quick, just so you know that and correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen, but the other reason with the big ass fans, that will keep the ideas that they stay on 24 hours. So they're on in the evenings. That'll keep the air circulating, so the dew will not settle as well on the courts like it does now,
Correct.
when you
yes.
get that circulation going.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, with regards to the morning dew, I just disagree that 95% because we mostly have, will be solved just by eliminating the rain. The morning dew, the moisture that's underneath of it, keeps it wet till like 10 a.m. But actually, when we first got the surface put in, we actually took blowers over there. I actually took one over there and I tried like a surface blower and I tried blowing like an area for a long time. And it just doesn't dry the surface up because you get it stamped, well, it gets damp underneath. And just drying it with a blower didn't seem to be effective. So I think definitely, I think as Dan, that's correct, Dan was saying, it definitely, the surface would have to be changed if you put a roof on. I don't think it's gonna dry. I don't think 95% of the problem would be solved with that.
Okay, thank you.
What?
Go ahead, Steve.
This is brainstorming because I haven't played roller hockey since I was about 12. But what if we took something like a tarp that stretched across, covered the boards, the dashboards around the rink, put that on at night? Do you think, in your experience, that would help ameliorate the dew issue?
Dan would have more experience with that. I don't think so. I know that concrete would work under surface because I've played on concrete like that before and you can see where it's wet at. But like I said, you can't really see where it's wet. So I'm not really sure how to answer your question with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Dan could probably answer better. He's got more experience.
We're gonna have to close public comment here shortly so we can,
I'll go real quick, but it's not gonna solve the problem because the moisture just rises from below and it just stays wet. So that's the problem we had. So that's when he had the blower come out. It just does not dry because all the moisture's underneath it. So,
okay, I think we're
just-
gonna have to have some, our engineers maybe take a look at this, but in terms of the flooring, I think the flooring is gonna stay until the roof is covered, and then we can deal with the flooring if there's continued issues based on what we have. But we need to make a decision on the roof here so we can get moving on it.
I think Steve made the motion. I seconded.
I just have one question. Can the flooring be changed after the construction?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so any further discussion? Did you have a comment, Craig?
Yep, just one comment. I guess I'm okay with the roof going modern. I think it does look, it's got clever, it specs with FOCA. I would say the wider you make it, the better it will be. So if you can go a little bigger, I would do that.
That will
So-
increase the price too, just as
I
a note.
understand, I
Okay.
understand, but let's do it right, so, and the second part of it would be, I have yet to meet a flat roof that really works long.
Okay.
So I challenge your 1/4 inch theory and make it a 1/2 inch. I mean, you really gotta be aggressive to make a big flat roof drain correctly. So it's, and have it maintainable.
I can comment on that, but we do use a 1/4 or a 1/2 inch for all the crickets that drain to your actual drains. And then the overall is a 1/4 inch. So there are things.
I'm all in on doing it so it drains faster, quicker,
Understood.
and not having a
Yeah.
heavy roof. So don't be afraid to make it more, over engineer it.
Yeah.
To drain faster, quicker. And that way
Understood.
it waters off the roof.
And I do think having a white TPO roof will make a difference in terms of the heat as well
Absolutely.
Yes.
versus the green,
Mhm.
Yes,
which
I
only
agree.
makes things hotter. So I think that will help a little bit. And then having the pavers on the outside and as much greenery as possible help cool it down a little bit too. So we have all our,
Yeah, we have a motion and it's been seconded.
okay, and then we have a roll call.
The motion was for option 1 with windscreen.
Yeah,
Well, with
With,
looking at the
both
different
options.
options.
yeah,
Yeah,
both options, yeah. He makes,
The options of looking at the windscreen versus the polycarbonate.
So
Okay.
can I modify it slightly? So what I'm suggesting is that going with option 1, the modern look, with some additional options of the size of the canopy, just to price it out, the option on the screening, and an option on possibly a, faster drainage on the flat roof.
Okay,
whatever
but
that is.
the size of the canopy, we can do the ballpark change in price and
Yes.
come back to the next meeting with that. But I just want to, we wouldn't be able to have two designs bid out that way with the different.
Totally
signs.
get it.
Okay.
But you're only 2 weeks away, right?
Yep.
To the next meeting. So-
Sure.
So we should, I mean, it's to the point of getting a little more detail that we can finalize it.
Okay.
As far as, but as far as the design, we're settling on option one,
That's the motion.
right?
Well,
That-
yeah, the motion is
Okay.
being.
Option one.
Yes.
Right, okay.
And one other question is the lighting, we're all happy with the type of lighting, or different lighting. There's the racetrack lighting inside on the option 2 versus this.
Well,
I'm all about.
Was the
making-
racetrack lighting available in the option 1 or?
You could use it in either option. Again, that's another interchangeable item. If you wanted to do something more standard, we can include that. If you want to do something a little bit more designed, that as well.
Again, there's probably a price difference in that
It's,
as well.
to me, it's about the maintenance. We just want to make sure it's running and it works well. So
There's not a lot of maintenance with LED. I still have LED lights that I put in when we moved into our condo, and we've been in there since, it's 10 years now. So I don't think that's the issue. But as far as, I'm not worried about the aesthetic. For my part, if we just have LED lighting, a la Costco interior warehouse, I'm fine with that. And my guess is it'll probably be a lot less expensive.
You mean not a closed roof?
No, 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 no.
Not a closed?
Just the lighting.
The standard
Okay,
lights.
but an enclosed ceiling.
Yeah.
Okay.
you got it.
So we're going option 1. We're gonna have the add alternate for the polycarbonate versus the mesh. We're gonna go with the closed ceiling and the standard lighting. And the extended, you want to see a price difference on the extension
Yes.
Right. from 8 feet to
And,
10
and
feet.
roofing, just look at the roof.
And the drainage.
Drainage.
I think we've.
The
Design-
drainage is already
with
designed,
maintenance
yeah,
in mind.
yeah. The drainage is already part of the design. Yes,
Okay, I think you got it, Brianne.
I think so.
Okay, roll call.
This is recorded, right? Yes. Go ahead.
All right, Commissioner Ernst.
Yes.
Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. We'll do approval of payroll and invoices. Treasurer?
Sure. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of payroll and invoices in the amount of $65,188.26.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Ernst.
Yes.
Commissioner Engel.
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, reports and discussion items.
Commissioner Snyder, I was going to show you some construction photos, Patch Reef Park. We have the pickleball and we also have some playground photos. So I'm gonna, yeah, that is the roof structure going up over the pickleball center over at Patch Reef. So there's some views of that. Go ahead and click through. There's another view of that. Yeah, it's 18 courts. So just some views of the construction out there. That's the playground restroom facility. So we're going vertical on the playground as well. So both projects moving along, constructions continue through the holidays. So I just wanted to give you some looks at those projects. So you have those. That's all the photos. So you're good there. The ribbon cutting for the Dorhornley Maintenance Facility is put on your calendars for January 27th at 11:30 a.m. I just want to make sure everybody saw that. If you haven't, I think everybody's seen it and accepted it. That can go. January 27th, it's a Monday. And then we have tomorrow, Mr. Thayer wasn't here, so let me just take his speech here. Tomorrow is the Federation of Homeowners meeting in the morning, and I will be there giving an update on all of our projects aside from this one as well. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Congratulations to you and to other board members. Just for reference, the J.J. Morley matter, which you've heard about and you've authorized for settlement, the settlement number is 90,000, just FYI. We're just waiting to be able to coordinate the delicacy of document drafting, which we assume based on an exchange that Brianna and I had with our counsel as recently as today should be something fairly quickly. Without further ado, that's the number. That's the number that was desirable to be achieved by the board. It has been achieved through legal counsel without spending more time, effort, or money in connection with our legal time or others. We're looking just to get the paperwork done and get an ACH check delivered to the council soon, from council to the district soon. So
Thank
that's
you.
it. Nothing further. Thank you all for listening. Appreciate it.
Okay, Commissioner Steve, do you have anything?
I just wanted once again to wish everybody a happy, healthy, prosperous, and peaceful 2025, and to congratulate our board members, or officers. I mean, we're all board members. Congratulate our officers on a job well done in 2024, and I'm sure that you'll exceed what you did in 2024 and 2025.
Thank you. Craig?
Yes, thank you to everyone. I appreciate everyone's staying in the same room. Sorry, Bob, but we'll do fine next year. But I do want to mention that I went out to Patch Reef, and Brianne was real helpful on just following up on some little items out there. But overall, the park looks beautiful. And just a quick observation, looking at the play that was out there, the pickleball, there were 12 pickleball courts, and all 12 were fully utilized. In fact, there is waiting only for them. So I think open play is important. That's something the community likes. They like El Rio Park, and we got to facilitate open play so we're not bottlenecking. I know we control the parking in that. As far as tennis goes, there were 13 tennis courts and only one was used. And so I would like us to consider, and I know we got many projects, but something for, in the planning stage, just like it took us a long time to do this design for the skate park here, the roof. That same design would be good over at the basketball rink at Patch Reef, but I'd like us to reconsider indoor tennis of the existing courts after we're done with this, to consider it, because I think we were left with, there is a need for indoor tennis. And we know there's a high demand for clay courts, but I think the indoor tennis facility or a multi-use facility that is large at Patch Reef would kind of finish it off at Patch Reef, and it would be a valuable asset to the community going forward. And so once we get the new pickleball center built, that you've got kind of you can shuffle things around a little bit, and you could just start thinking about a full indoor tennis court. I think it'd be valuable to the community down the road. So just something to think about. As far as the park itself goes, beautiful park and well used. Open play was nice for seeing kids and parents play out there, just recreating on the fields with no obstruction. And I think it's a good asset. So it was a pleasure to go out there and be part of this group. That's all I have.
Wow.
Well, congratulations, Aaron. And the one thing that I've been suggesting we need a little bit on a little higher priority is another field house. I think that we have the one at Sugar Sand is busy year round. Every day there's different groups out there has been provided to us. I think the location there on the southeast corner of Clintmore and Second Avenue is an ideal place for something like that. There could be a community center component to that, as well as a basketball or just a field house, because it has multiple uses besides basketball. So and I'm hoping to see something happen on that in the next couple of years. I really think that I've talked about that before, and I feel like that there's a tremendous need for that, right? Not only for basketball, but for other indoor activities that take place now at Sugar Sand that people can't get into it because of the previous programming elements that are already in there. So, and looking forward to 2025 with our current chair, and it's been a pleasure to be on this board the length of time. I've enjoyed this group of commissioners a lot more collegial than some that we've had in the past, but it's a pleasure to sit here and to try to make things happen for the community's recreational needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Susie?
Congratulations to our officers, and couple things. Being a new grandma, I've been at the parks a lot more, and Sugar Sand was mobbed both times that I've been there. Yesterday, we had our top soccer, uniform distribution and orientation for our buddies, people couldn't find a place to park. So it's really nice to see staff was working very hard to make everything happen for us and did an excellent job. So the field house, yes, we do need another field house because that field house was used the entire time that we were there. I do look forward to tomorrow to see Brianne do her presentation at the Federation of Homeowners. And I think that's it. Thanks.
Sam, there's no problem with more. I'm gonna be there too. We're not gonna have a sunshine. Issue.
So long, as long as you don't have an exchange on the record or anything that may foreseeably come here, not be discussed between the two of you.
Okay, we know better than to do.
Yeah,
You
we
do,
sit on
and-
the opposite sides of each other at church. So don't worry
You're
about
on
it.
guard, not to worry. Yes. Well, the last though, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for your vote of confidence to be chair again. And congratulations to Bob and to Craig. And I think in terms of the next field house, I think we need to continue talks with the city. I think there might be some opportunity where we scratch their back, they scratch ours in terms of a new field house. So we'll see what happens there, but I think Brianne and the continued talks with the city might.
That could come out of the master plan discussion.
And they are having a meeting in regards to the downtown master plan, I believe tomorrow night. There is a public input meeting and stuff like that, so if you guys are interested. I did go to the meeting that they had for the railroad crossing in terms of the one closing and the options that were available in terms of the ones that they were they were looking at possibly closing Hidden Valley as well. So that was my main concern in terms of being there. But I'm still unsure of why they're closing the one and opening the one that bisects a park. It really doesn't make much sense. And the people that were there complaining about the closing was going to hurt their businesses, which are surrounding that railroad track that's there. So I'm still kind of confused on why they're closing one and opening the other. And I get it. It's to kind of relieve traffic, I think, on Yamato and opening up Clintmore. But I still am concerned about the traffic that will start on Second because they don't have plans to widen that. So it really doesn't make much sense to me. But it's been in the works for like, I don't know, 50 years or something. So hopefully we get maybe more information on that. That would be good, but yeah.
I spoke to Robert Ledoux with the FEC and he said, if you're going to open another crossing, you have to close two.
But they're only closing the one. They have to only
I heard that they were
close
closing
one.
one down like toward, what is it, 28th Street or whatever that one is, and the one at Hidden Valley.
No, they're not closing the one at Hidden Valley. That's what we got at that information session. They're only closing the one on 28th Street. That's that short one that goes from Second to Dixie Highway. And the reason they decided on that one was because it doesn't go all the way to Federal Highway. And that's why they voted against the one on Hidden Valley, because that one does go all the way to Federal Highway.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me that they do that because they've got businesses at the corner of Federal Highway that they're going to have to, and some homes. I don't know how they're going to get that traffic going from 4 lanes down to 2 without disturbing some of those residential properties and that new Shell station and the duck right there. But if I might ask, I thought we had sent a letter at some point to FEC Railroad and to the city of our opposition to that, and because it bifurcates our park, and and if not, I'd like to put that on our next agenda item to talk about sending a letter, maybe too late, too little, but I'd like to go on record that we're totally opposed to it.
Well, keep in mind at the meeting that I was at, they also did say, because there was a lot of opposition to closing the one at 28th, they did say it's not a done deal. Whether that was just to the public or not, I don't know, but they said it was not a done deal.
But
So
I'd like to suggest we talk about it next officially and then make a position known to those people who are looking at closing this, or the city or FEC or whomever else.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
okay.
And I think that was it. all I
Move
have.
to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Ernst,
Yes.
Commissioner Engel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rollins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogelsang.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright.
Yes,
Motion passes.
we are adjourned.